5G, the next generation network infrastructure, will bind together the world's population, as well as 4+ billion intelligent things. 5G mobile network, highly reliable, ultra speedy, low latency. This new technology will revolutionize the telecommunications world. Today, communication service providers sit at the apex of a new opportunity to bring market clarity and a simplified procurement process to the vast array of highly specialized 5G solutions. 5G Profitable Customer Lifecycle is an integrated digital services platform, which comprises of a scalable cross-industry marketplace to configure digital products, OTT service, and machines from any industry vertical, underpinned by best-in-class customer experience. Fixed broadband, IoT at scale, mobile broadband, drones, mission-critical services. Here are some of the 5G Profitable Lifecycle key features. Real-time customer journey optimization, connected and guided purchase experience using digital marketplace, automated quote-to-order and procedure-to-pay process. Real-time customer journey optimization, dynamic network slicing and allocation, IoT management, 5G data diagnosis. Key differentiators of 5G Profitable Lifecycle are faster time to revenue for new digital products and services with our integrated digital services platform, delivering a head start for the CSPs to accelerate 5G monetization. Best-in-class customer experience leveraging AI and ML into guided selling workflows, self-serve and zero-touch operations. And focus on future ecosystems, as our inclusive platform allows IoT providers, small and medium businesses, large enterprises, software vendors, and product companies to collaborate and offer customized business, to verticals and cross-industry solutions enabled by CSPs. 5G is all about inclusiveness and collaboration. It's an opportunity for the ecosystem to thrive like never before.
Morning everyone, my name is Jash Deshpande and thanks for coming for our panel presentation. So what we saw in a video is a solution concept in terms of how we are building digital marketplaces and enabling CSPs and cross-industry businesses to create more revenue streams and monetize opportunities. So just to explain the architecture, what we have done here is we have got a digital marketplace with Mercato platform. We are also using an IoT device management platform using Cumulosity. And there is a use case that we have got end-to-end working, which demonstrates how machines can request for additional network resource on the fly. And we are doing dynamic network slice allocations to enable that. We have the entire BSS layer through Velocity Salesforce platform. We are using Selfinet to give us the dynamic 5G analysis on 5G data. We are using an intelligent network manager which does the context comparison versus the allocation comparison of what network slices are available, creates a profitability index, and then helps us to allocate the right network resource. So this is the blueprint of the entire solution architecture. So we have got everything built with TMF's Open API framework, and it's kind of built with loosely coupled microservice architecture. So from a marketplace view, what you get to do is a one-stop shop for all businesses and partners who want to onboard quickly and sell their products. They can bundle cross-industry products seamlessly and use services of network slicing with assured performance coupled with their bundles. In terms of the network slicing, we have used industry-first open source framework, which is a combination of open source Mano and OpenStack. This is something that we have been able to demonstrate using some of our network labs. And what we have done is that we use our Big Decisions platform to create AI and ML algorithms, which at runtime analyze what network data, what customer experience data is there, and associate it with the network slice data, and give the right output in terms of association with profitability index, and also with the network configurations that are required. This is something what we call it as closed loop network slicing, which basically is a slicing engine orchestrator. So what we are talking here is about virtual orchestration engine, which is able to kind of scale independently based on dynamic network requirements. And lastly, just to talk about open source Mano, it's a new industry standard in terms of open source. And we are really striving to work with a lot of CSPs to get this working in terms of NFV, SDN, and dynamic network orchestration. So some of the TMF assets that we have utilized, we have just listed all the APIs. So we have done contributions on 4 of the key APIs, which is the product catalog API, product ordering API, service level agreements, and IoT management API. Thank you. So we'll just move on to the panel presentation now.
Thank you very much, Josh. So I'll just begin by actually asking our panelists to introduce themselves. So we'll start here with you, Manju.
Sure. Hi, I'm Manju Kagonali. I head the Communications, Media, Technology, Education, and Information Services sector for Cognizant for UK and Ireland.
Hi everyone, my name is Aftar Chaga. I'm a digital partner with Cognizant, so I'm applying all our digital capabilities to the telco vertical.
I'm Peter Robbins. I'm the CEO up at Mercato, the platform, the marketplace providers.
Great, thank you very much. So gentlemen, we're seeing 5G rollouts really begin this year. What sort of business models do you think are going to come to light over the next 1 or 2 years in terms of innovation?
Yeah, I think in our opinion, the business model, getting the right business model is the most important aspect because there is technology available and there are enough sort of producers and consumers of services in the ecosystem. But in this case, in case of 5G, we believe that the business model has to be one that is different from the business models that we have seen in the past. It has to be an inclusive model. It has to be one where it's underpinned by collaboration. Classic example was yesterday we saw in the panel discussions where we had industry on one side and the communication service providers on the other side. And during the course of the presentations, you could see them all converging, moving towards each other, not only physically, but also in the way they were thinking about, what needs to be done for the business model. So I think that's the most important aspect, right? It has to be inclusive, it has to be collaborative, it has to be industry specific, as well as cross-industry, right? And I don't think anybody has kind of figured this out yet. You may have a very radical option like Rakuten also come into the play. So it's not just for communication service providers. So you may have a very innovative companies like Rakuten also come into this mix. So this is something I believe, even from a TM Forum perspective, something that you could enable, right? Continue to enable this discussion between the industry and the service providers. I think that's the right way to approach it.
Great, thank you. Anything to add to that, gentlemen?
Yeah, I think in some of the initial use cases about IoT, we see IoT as the kind of the leading use case. We've spoken to likes of Vodafone and see how much investment has gone into preempting a lot of the use cases around IoT. So from our perspective, and again, we show this in the catalyst, is that there's a standard customer order which we can drive through a 5G use case. But fundamentally, the machine itself can also request a network slice to be orchestrated. So we show both sides of the equation, and that's really to kind of fit into this whole idea of IoT and massive machine type communication as being the leading use case.
I think it's going to be just very incredibly diverse. I think you're going to find that the requirements are going to change weekly depending on who you're talking to. I think it's going to be very, very challenging for businesses over the next couple of years as this whole thing gets rolled out. But lots of opportunity. Challenging, but lots of opportunity.
Yeah, what we often hear is that the business models are things that we can't even imagine yet, and we'll have to see when the capabilities are really available, what these innovative minds are going to come up with, we can't say today. So exciting times, keep us on our toes for sure.
Yeah.
So all of that is a little bit more in the future. What about where we are now? Do you feel that operators are currently ready and able to provision and monetize their own services? And then the same question for enabling other industry services. Manju, you were saying, we're seeing this close collaboration and blurring of lines between industries, but are they actually ready to become that enabler of new businesses in terms of ecosystems?
Do you want to go first? Okay. Yeah, so I think this is a really good question. And I think the focus has to be around the whole 5G ecosystem, because you need to monetize the whole ecosystem, right? So that's your products, your services, your partners, your supply chain, and most importantly, the network, right? 'Cause that's where a lot of the investment has gone in for 5G. And in order to do that, you need to have monetization levers across all those different layers. And if you look at today's platforms or today's architectures, I would say, that simply isn't there. So what you need platforms which have open APIs. You need platforms that have microservices, and more importantly, also the DevOps queues. So as you start innovating, as Peter said, with new products, new services, you have the DevOps queues where you can start rapidly looking at new application suites that are going to deliver that customer experience. And for that, you need agility at scale, right? So the platforms that we are looking at, and again, what we've kind of built into our 5G lifecycle model is this scalability and agility, right from the kind of customer experience layer or the marketplace, right down to the network orchestration piece. We connect the whole thing end to end and show how you can deliver that experience. And that's, I think, is critical for the next stage of 5G evolution.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, readiness is also very relative, right? It depends on where you are in the journey. As of now, the telcos have a great opportunity, right? They can take the lead. There are good examples of certain initiatives that are very industry specific or product specific that is happening with the telcos. But I don't think any of the telcos are ready to capture the full potential of 5G, right? Because I believe still, when you talk about technology and platforms, yes, there's a lot of disruption with technology. But I believe still the biggest disruption is going to come from consumers and from SMBs, right? That's a sector which has been very innovative. And that's a sector which is actually really looking forward to harnessing the power of 5G and the potential of 5G. So I think we need to, while we are thinking about platforms and solutions and opportunities, we should not lose sight of the customer and their changing behaviors and the influence of small and medium businesses in leveraging this. So this is something that has to be thought through more comprehensively, in my opinion.
And when you mention the customers there, do you mean, because we're talking about SMBs as well and how they can leverage 5G potentially, are we talking about the consumer segment?
Yes, the consumer and the consumer segment as well, right? Because if you take, for example, today, you may be buying 3 services or 3 products from a telco. But with 5G, you may be buying like 20 services, right? IoT and a whole bunch of connected home services. So do we really understand the consumer from that perspective in terms of their, yes, you can have the usage pattern, but the behavioral pattern, how do you make sure that you're pushing out the right offers? So these things have to be really thought through because they can become the biggest disruptor. If they don't like something, if they don't like the products or services that are being offered, the loyalty these days is, they can be easily switched over to someone else, right? So that's something that needs to be really, taken into account in 5G as well.
Yeah, so speaking about switching, we imagine this space to be extremely competitive, right? Everyone is racing to be either first or best, some trying to be both. In terms of investment, we know that 5G is a costly technology to develop and then eventually roll out, as we're seeing starting today. Where would you recommend that telcos start or focus their investments on?
I think for a start, I think everybody's got to get away from having excuses. I've worked in the last 30 odd years in the IT sector. The last 4 years with the way AWS and the platforms have literally bulldozed their way through that market. If you sit waiting for the innovative organizations, they'll come and get you. So I think we have no option. They have to be absolutely ready. And I think that's right the way from the customer end all the way through to the back office and the provisioning systems. So, and the systems are there. They've just got to be executed. They've got to be put together. I think collaboratively. I mean, more often than not, whenever we're engaged, people want to have a very, very complex architecture, but they always come back with the same thing. We want it to be very Amazon-esque. And you say, well, okay, but you actually you want price comparison, you want services, just to integrate complex services and what goes with that. And by the way, they're going to come back and change their mind because it's a B2B. Then you've got to have the governance, and you've got to go into all of these things like FAA. You've got to go in and see if you're allowed to fly that drone in that particular area. But actually, I want to buy it through a marketplace. These are very complex solutions, and it engages lots and lots of stakeholders. But if you don't actually, if we have that attitude of, well, we can't do it 'cause, believe me, someone like AWS, in my experience on IT, is going to come along and say, well, they can't do it, we will. So there has to be a can-do attitude, and that's, for the smaller organisations particularly, is being able to, and the larger organisations, is collaboration. Because they hold no prisoners. If you ask the titans of the IT sector what's happened to them over the last 5 years, I think the majority of them say the major effect will be Amazon.
Anything to add to that, gentlemen? It's an interesting perspective. Here at TM Forum, we talk a lot about the technology, but time and time again, at this event especially, someone always shakes up their hand and is like, problem is not the technology. We're very, very good at that. The problem is the people in the organization and how we work together, right? That collaboration.
Culture.
Yeah, culture, yeah. Absolutely.
Well said,
I think, as you said, Thandi, there are many technology options available, right? I think what this ecosystem needs to collectively stop doing is stop reinventing the wheel. I think that's the biggest hindrance, in my opinion. Rather than looking at a leverage model, we all tend to reinvent the wheel. And I think when it comes to monetizing 5G, I don't believe time is on your side to reinvent the wheel. So it's about time that we leapfrog that thought process and then get into a more of a leverage model. And the ecosystem has to work together collectively. Whether it's you're a software vendor, a hardware, your IoT, you are a services company, a producer, consumer. I think we are all in this together. And definitely the telcos have the opportunity to take the lead.
I think also it's the simplification of the experience. So if you have multiple buying journeys, multiple suppliers all trying to transact with different systems, it's very difficult to have that integrated view. So one of the thought processes we put into the Catalyst is to have this marketplace. And within the marketplace, all your buyers, suppliers are just connected together. So if you want to buy a new product or service, it's very quickly to have multiple configurations working together, and they're just connected through intelligent workflows. So that gets you to the final product bundle that you want to achieve very quickly and very efficiently. So I think customer experience is also extremely important. And the customer experience, it shouldn't be just at the customer layer, but also right down to the network experience. So that when you want to buy a service, you want to make sure that you've got availability for 5G slices, 5G coverage is available to deliver that experience. So yeah, absolutely. So I think customer experience is fundamental.
End-to-end thinking, holistically. That actually brings me on to my final question for today around how your Catalyst actually demonstrates profitability. So I think that it starts with what you've just said, but can you tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, so with the Catalyst, what we provide is a single pane of glass view through a marketplace. And within that view, what you have is you have the whole commercial order. So this is where you can transact and connect together different buyer, supplier products with services, supply chain as well. And underneath that, what we have is then what I would say the key business processes like quote to order and procure to pay. And what that creates is a commerce platform. So the commerce platform is basically there to kind of start the profitability lifecycle, so that you can start measuring which products you're buying, which are the most profitable. And this is looking at it from a service provider perspective, right? So we think they will be the initial custodians of this Catalyst. But then also within that marketplace, we also start to integrate some of the mapping data and network performance data. So it's a one-stop shop, not only for you to buy your products and services, but also you can actually envisage, do you have 5G coverage in that postcode where you want to launch, for example, a drone? Do you have the right 5G slice? Is your IoT enabled? Do you have sufficient coverage to give you that end-to-end service view? So fundamentally, what we're doing is we're creating a service order validation within the marketplace, right? And to deliver that, what we have, like I said, we start off with the marketplace. We then have a Salesforce and Velocity ecosystem sitting below that, which provides that order automation or the commercial order management. We then have a slice manager, which intelligently takes in the profitability of the actual order. It also looks at the IoT data. It also takes the network data into account before a slice is actually orchestrated, right? So that's one view. But also we have the other view, which is when a machine itself could ask for a network slice. So we're looking at it from both perspectives, where we have the customer order, but also a network slice could be, again, let's take the example of a drone, where a drone is flying and actually is running out of bandwidth to transmit video. And now the video could also be held back in a cloud as part of your order, but fundamentally it's asking for more bandwidth. So the machine itself can then connect back into the ecosystem, again through the kind of the middleware layer, which we have is a very intelligent catalog system, which orchestrates that journey back to the commercial level. So we can see this end-to-end. So the complete profitability of the life cycle can be managed. So that's the approach that we've manifested and built into the Catalyst.
So it sounds like you would all do well to go and visit the booth and get an actual demo so you can get the visualization yourselves, right?
Yeah.
What's your booth number?
225.
225. Okay, so go and get yourselves a demo, and then I think what Avtar has just explained will be a little bit clearer with the actual visualizations. Sure. Go ahead, Manju.
Yeah, I think through this catalyst, what we are, although we are talking a lot about architecture and solution, what we are also showcasing is a bit of the culture that's required for 5G, right? And that culture is, yes, we are very thankful for Telefonica O2 UK, Brendan O'Reilly for being the sponsor of this. But the number of partners that we have used, it's not just about the scale or the size of the partners, but it's more about the innovation, the agility that they brought to the solution, right? So that's the display of the culture that you need for 5G. And also we have brought in, because we do work with a number of industries at Cognizant, whether it's banking, financial services, insurance, automotive. So we have thought through those use cases that are more industry specific, and we have brought that into this. So all in all, I think this is also a display of culture, not just a technology. Thank you.
Thank you to our panel. One final question from me, very quick. Are you guys going to have another phase of this catalyst? Or do you think you're pretty much done? You've set it?
No, I think this is going to be a living and breathing initiative for us. In fact, the last catalyst we had in Nice, and that we repeated in Kuala Lumpur as well on our Customer 360, that's something we continue to enhance that, and that's been bolted onto this catalyst. So we want to make this a living project. This is not a one-time. And that's the way 5G is going to be, right? It's going to be more of an evolutionary approach than a revolutionary approach. And we are going to continue with this.
Fantastic, good to hear. And there's space for more, right?
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So get involved, guys. So that is 226, right?
225.
225, sorry, 225. Must be just next door.
If you come to 226, you'll still find us. So
there you go. Just look out.